will be placed in lane. I think this is a lot of speculations, to be honest, but because in last week itself we saw Trophies on this CP Sky and he played it in that of late.
Yep. Yeah, and I don't think Sky is a bad pick at all against Black Feather. You have the mobility, and as long as you can dodge out the on points, then you're negating a lot of the damage and a lot of the defense that Black Feather provides for themselves. But it's a bit of a skill-based game there, and it'll be interesting to see that now we have that Lyra picked up, and more than likely your speculation of the Lance being put into the jungle as a weapon power jungler is going to be the case. And how do you think the side? How do you think the side of Divine Aurora can?
Taka. They just honestly, when you ask me that question, the most logical pickup at this point in time would be that of Taka. Taka can burst Sky down almost immediately, just dodge out the forward barrage, so we strike and just reposition with the Kaiten and Etsuretsu. So honestly, if that's a little too much honesty there, but all in all, Lance...
You know that I love Sky, but I actually like the Divine Aurora comp that got set up for them.
Well, definitely I must agree with you. Margin going very aggressive onto just taking the front camps of Nebulae, and Delphi just couldn't stop that. But all in all, it will be, you know, relatively even. But the next fight will probably be happening around this Elder Tree, and with Neon Sea on that Fox actually rotating down.
Yep, and both teams are going to make their way to the mid camp. However, on the side of Nebulae, they Delphi down here to 2v3 situation. So looks like Divine Aurora should just be able to win that one out with the man advantage, and they secure that mid tree, and it's going to help them a bit. We saw previously Spitfire and Neon Sea actually went up to lane to push it early, and I'm not sure if that would have meant that Truffy's up in lane on the Sky lost a bit, but it looks like they're fairly even right now. Truffy's actually sitting at 12 CS and Neon Sea back at 10, but he should be able to catch up after clearing this wave more so than likely. And yeah, I think it is just a very tough role to play the CP Sky in lane more so, but it's almost safer in some situations with the current Sky because you have to build that, I guess, more glass cannon kind of build, and then you usually have your Roma up in there in the brush watching over you, so you're less likely to die when getting ganked, whereas if you just get found out in the jungle on your own as CP Sky these days, I find a lot more than likely if you die a lot in the early game, it's really hard to get back up in the late.
Definitely, I must agree with you. But all in all, for a CP Sky to be in lane, Minimizer said so last week that he don't quite like the placement of the CP Sky, and also because we have to understand one thing: Trophy's played his CP heroes very much like a mage, so we will be expecting a lot of just Zuri striking into without a proper lock-on, and it's just down to lQUATER on that weapon lance to try his bestest to provide some sort of peel, but Spitfire going in very deep.
Yeah, we see a fair bit of poke going on to Trophies there, and they're going to go back to, well, the backs of their jungle and clear that out. But meanwhile, Divine Aurora going in, and they're going to be able to steal away half of the enemy jungle here, and they might even be able to secure the mid without any contest.
lQUATER at this point in time really can't do anything much with all three members of D.Va just rotating down into that of lane. And honestly, in this early game, although vision is not all that important, but if you realize that a team, your enemy is rotating in terms of three or in threes, then you have to set some vision down at least just to catch them out in their rotation and know where they are at every single point in time of the game. lQUATER now coming in.
Oh, and that's an amazing impale coming out on the side of Nebulae. lQUATER that lance. And that is exactly what Nebulae need to do. They need to follow up on those. They weren't able to get a kill, however, but you saw the damage coming through for the side of Nebulae. Very impressive there in the early game. Of course, the weapon power lance, those impales are going to hurt. He's picked up double weapon blade to start with and a 6 Sins. And it seems like that already does a fair amount, especially when you're going up against this Black Feather and this Vox, both fairly squishy heroes. Black Feather more so in the case if he doesn't get the on point off. And at least when going against a Lance, Black Feather would be able to more than likely get the on point off. But with Sky, if Sky's able to dodge out of these, and it's what we talked about in the draft, if Sky's able to dodge out the on points, they might be able to win the fight overall against Spitfire. And they've picked up that Frostburn first as well, Trophies has on that Sky, so that should help out even more so. But right now we see Divine Aurora being very aggressive up in lane, always sticking together as a full team, and it's good to see them playing that way, because in the late game it might end up a bit tough against the side of Nebulae if they can continue to peel for trophies and land those impales coming out from AURORA.
Yep, they definitely do. I mean, or rather, AURORA really have to do and be the big man right now and just be able to just peel for trophies from the back lines. Oh, that is a very early fountain popped on Majin there. And this time, the side of Nebulae can really just push the advantage with a lack of fountain coming out from the side of D.Va. However, they will just rotate into the jungle of Divine Aurora and just steal away some farms. So all in all, rather equal, I guess. You know, the side of Nebulae, the side of D.Va took some farm, Nebulae stole some farm away for themselves as well. But AURORA really have an important role here. With trophies on that Sky means that he don't want to build defenses. Defense is just too mainstream for him. And on top of that as well, he will play like very much like a mage. And so, you know, Delphi is there to provide a sustain in terms of the Imperial Sigil. And of course, you have AURORA with those Gitten Wall and Impales that will just hold trophies together and keep his status as a mage to be able to just follow Barrage from afar.
Yeah, like, either I just suck at Sky right now, or you need a really good team like what Nebulae have for themselves here, and you need that synergy to really make Sky work. And I do like that Lyra pickup, now that you mention it, is going to help with the sustain to keep Sky up in that lane, keep them farming so they can get towards the items that you need. And you can see right here, Trophies just putting that damage down with the forward barrage and not really being, there's nothing really in return from the side of Divine Aurora at this point. Martian does have the fountain, but instead they're going to go back, heal up, leave it to Nyan and Spitfire to take care of that. I wouldn't be surprised if Nebulae could try take this advantage to go for a quick gold miner, but no, they're gonna have to rotate back up to lane as the minions push in.
Yep, so they will not settle for that gold miner. I mean, it is 7 minutes in, no kills as of yet. These teams definitely do respect each other as players and of course as teams as well. And we do see the very classic rotation coming out from Nebulae, just going, the both carries going through the jungle together, just go to extra ambient. And on top of that as well, the side, or rather AURORA is actually giving all the farm to Trophies 7.5 minutes in, and Trophy sitting already at 98 CS as compared to Neon Sea with just a mere 83 CS. So that is something that maybe D.Va has to consider, that AURORA do not really have farm. Infusions picked up on AURORA at this point in time. We might see a fight break up very, very soon.
But it looks like AURORA doesn't need that farm as they go in with the Impale, landing a lot of damage on the backline onto Neon Sea because of the tension bow proc. So that's what they're trying to rely off on this early game, but once again, it's just a bit of poke here and there, no real confirmed kills coming out, and no meaningful damage, it seems, just a bit of chip damage right now, but they're moving on to the turret, but Divine Aurora staying strong, they're going to stay up there as a full team, holding their ground and making sure Nebulae don't get any early damage on that turret. Usually, if there is a more so, I should say, one-sided kind of presence, if one team is has the advantage in the early game, we'll see this first turret fall around the 7 to 8 minute mark. But to see right now that really no damage at all has gone over to either turrets, and that the gold difference is so negligible, it's basically the same right now, just swapping between hundreds of who has the gold lead, that both these teams playing really even so far, and it's just going to take one team fight to swing that.
Yep, and although Trophies has got, you know, relatively, you know, in retrospect, a little more items as compared to, say, Neon Sea, but we do not see a lot of aggression coming out whatsoever. If anything, it's almost Nebulae just really wants to farm up even more, get, you know, the third item for Trophies, and hopefully is able to put up damage then. But then again, Lance has got a very strong early game.
Ooh, well, Lance missing that Impale is going to get punished for it as he dives in. Death from above was used, but won't be enough to save his life as Spitfire is going to dive on in there with a Rose offensive to pick up the first blood. And they also push Doubtfire back, who's fairly low now. Probably has to use the Imperial Sigil on themselves to keep him alive, but the whole team of Divine Aurora going to push in on this one. There's the Divine Intervention coming through, very fitting name for that team right now, coming through onto the Black Feather, and they're able to take the first turret with that as well. And that's why I said when I said just one team fight is going to swing this. They managed to get first blood and the first turret just within that. The gold, however, you know, still fairly the same for now, but when you look over at, I was going to say if we look over at farm, but we'll have to hold on to that for just a second, whether anyone on Divine Aurora might fall, or perhaps the side of Nebulae is that being very aggressive, trying to get a return turret for the one that previously fell. Spitfire missing that on point could be crucial. Doesn't get caught out by the Impale, however. Nionc going to be chasing down for a bit of damage there. Needs to be careful to not get caught up in that forward barrage, but moving around, trying to position themselves so they can get some damage onto trophies. And right now, both teams going back and forth with a bit of poke. So you can see that one death, AURORA was able to get back to the lane fairly quickly, so it wasn't too bad for the side of Nebulae, but they really want to get a turret in return out of that, because now, after they break away from this team fight, Divine Aurora in the advantage.
Yep, they have got a 1k advantage, not plenty considering it's already 11 minutes in, but all in all, I guess, you know, the side of Nebulae really has to start working on a more solid, more sustainable strategy as compared to, say, picking out the Sky and then trying to use or play Sky as a mage. All in all, we saw a lot of setups coming out from lQUATER, and it's just so important, especially since lQUATER is not on the captain role, do not have as much tank and, you know, wall and just tanking us all in all. So if lQUATER actually misses just one Impale, it will be doomed for the side of Nebulae.
Yep, and we see that Nebulae not really able to go in on anything right now because AURORA not able to find those crucial Impales that they need, and not sure if Trophies is in the right position here as Martian going to dive in on them. And there's actually going to be the Crucible forced out for the side of Divine Aurora, so that's good for Nebulae right now. And there's going to be Divine Intervention as well, so if Nebulae can stay healthy enough in this fight, due to that having Lyra on that team, and if they can sustain through it, they might be able to win just over time by slowly wearing down Divine Aurora. Nionc not gonna get caught out in that death from above, but you can see how much they're just holding their ground on the side of Divine Aurora. They're not really giving anything over to Nebulae right now.
Yep, they definitely are just holding the ground and just trying to play safe for as long as possible. But they have to understand one thing, it's that now lQUATER only has got attention bow building towards that Sorrow Blade. If they just do let the guards down, then it will be easy damage for lQUATER. Oh, Nionc.
Ooh. Neon going very low, so did the turret. I think if Trophies had decided to focus one or the other, they might have got in. Ooh, just the range on that forward barrage, hitting onto Spitfire and forcing them to go back as well. I think this will be the push that Nebulae need to get this turret finally. There's Lance with Impale able to get. And you were talking before about Nebulae perhaps needing to change up their strategy here. It's interesting to say. I do like the fact that they're deciding to hyper carry this Sky. It's going to help her a lot in the long run, but for this mid game it is a bit dangerous if AURORA goes down early in the fight or isn't able to find those Impales. However, you were also mentioning the farm that Sky is ahead of Nionc, obviously at 180 over to Neonc's 158, but if you look at the overall image of each team for the CS they have, is basically the same, because AURORA is still sitting only on 20 CS and Spitfire at over double that with 46, so it's more just where they're putting the gold and where they're putting these items and how they're spending this economy. I think Weapon Power Lance is one of those heroes you can kind of get around with only putting a small amount of weapon power damage into, or not so many items. It's kind of a good budget build to say, but we'll have to see how it plays out for Nebulae as Death from Above is used on the backline. Bright Bulwark trying to keep Spitfire away, and Ooh, and Pale is going to miss, but that forward barrage landing all on Spitfire, and they're going to go low. Divine Intervention used to keep them in the fight. They should be able to turn this one around. Divine Aurora getting the kill onto the Lance, but Truffy's needs to be careful to not get caught out as well. There's going to be the Imperial Sigil to get them out of the fight, but is it Nebulae going to be able to hold this turret? Well, they are, because Divine Aurora just going to ignore it and go straight for the gold mine, in fact.
Yep, and as we can tell, Truffy's once again relatively healthy throughout the team fight whatsoever. Not a lot of input in that team fight. Oh, this gold mine.
Ooh, Death from Above does miss, but it manages to get onto Margin, and they pick up a kill in return. Of course, the gold probably more beneficial at this point, especially for the side of Nebulae as they are behind, but as you said before, the gold lead is not that much for the side of Divine Aurora, considering that we're 15 minutes in, so both these teams still fairly even. We see Divine Aurora sitting at 32k, and then just slightly behind them is Nebulae at 31.5.
Yep, and that is one thing to consider coming into this matchup as well. Vainglory generally do reward, you know, being aggressive. So the more aggressive you are, the more likely you will close the game out, because that is how Vainglory will reward you, right? So we want to see a lot of, you know, aggressive plays, especially with a Sky and the changes made to her lock-on damage. She does relatively more damage and don't really need that, you know, level 12 or that 4 items before she can deal decent damage. So it kind of boggles my mind as to why Nebulae is just playing so very passively going up against Divine Aurora. Granted, Divine Aurora, not a terrible team, but all in all, they have got such stronger early game as compared to the side of Divine Aurora. I mean, Nebulae, they have got sustain coming out from Lyra, and before Black Feather even get the Shatter Glass, they could have just bullied Black Feather.
Yeah, now that Black Feather has that Shatter Glass, and the Broken Myth is going to be very tough once he gets into the fight, and the longer the fights go on for them. Of course, Sky with the Broken Myth as well, and already the Eve, it's going to be a good sustain kit for them. But it's what I said before, a lot of Black Feather's kit relies on is getting that on point off, and for the case of CP Black Feather more so is getting the Broken Myth stacks and then using the Faint of Heart onto the enemy to get that extra damage. But Nebulae getting chased down out of the jungle of Divine Aurora. Good job by Doubtfire there to catch up with Vision, and they need to make sure that like the next fight is more than likely going to be the fight that determines who gets Kraken.
I mean, Kraken has been on the fold now for 2 minutes, and once again, both Divas and Nebulae just playing very, very passively, just retreating and constantly not trying to seek for a fight. Although, understandably, the side of a Nebulae, or rather the side of Divine Aurora, definitely do have a tad more damage margin. However, will be caught out by Lance, but all in all, it will be fine.
Yes, you die missing that Impale though, and it's now going to be Martian actually diving into the front line. Might need to be careful about that decision. You're slowly giving breaking point stacks over to the Sky, but if the side of Nebulae don't follow through with it, they're not going to be used for much right now. And the constant use of Death from Above to just keep the zoning potential for the side of Nebulae and keep the side of Divine Aurora split a lot of the time is very good. And right now we'll have to see. It's basically the only CC that the side of Nebulae can rely on is the Impale and the Death from Above. Of course, you have the Bright Bulwark from Doubtfire that can come out as well, but that's more so once the Black Feather jumps in. And I think overall Nebulae have been doing a good job to keep the death count low, but they need to be careful to not just walk into bushes like that, especially if Lance is on the jungle position and not roam, not so tanky as you're used to.
Yep,
there's going to be the wait for it coming out from Nyan C, and we can see that Iron Gudai split off from the rest of the team. They're going to have to back out of this one, and Truffy's doing a very good job of keeping them at bay. Meanwhile, Doubtfire on that back line healing up Iron Gudai, but needs to be careful because Truffy's is also low. There's the Fountain used on the side of Nebulae. They might be able to swing this fight around because Martian also has used that Fountain earlier on, and if they chase down, they might be able to find a kill. Iron Gudai on the prowl. Is he going to be able to get them Impale? I'm not sure if he could see Martian in the bush with that one.
Yep, at this point in time, honestly, Nebulae can just go take the Kraken and just try their bestest to push. However, they will just roam in threes back up into the lane and just hopefully push that lane out all in all. Oh.
And then we see they caught out Majin, and Majin not gonna hit anyone with that Holy Nova. You can see Trophy's able to dodge their way out of there, and now Divine Aurora with no Roma, are they still going to look for the fight? There's the side of Nebulae going in, as we see Trophy's trying to find Spitfire, and there's going to be the Impale landing, but it looks like AURORA, you do not want to take a 1v1 with Spitfire. He will mount you down. Meanwhile, Trophy's going to be able to pick up a kill on the box or get him low enough for Lyra to finish. And Spitfire running for his life. He's going to be caught out by that... ooh, not quite. He's caught out by the Vision. But whether Trophy's can finish it, more than likely, they're going to be able to pick up the ace as well. Majin up in 3 seconds, but they should be able to make work on this Kraken. And yeah, Nebulae, kind of as you said earlier, could have been aggressive before, but they've been playing this one fairly passive.
Yep, they have been rather passive, just allowed Trophies to farm up, and of course to get AURORA to get that, you know, tension bow into Sorrow Blade itself. So this is something that I've been talking about earlier on as well. It's that Nebulae, AURORA, he's just so very strong in that early game. After he gets tension bow, not even before that Sorrow Blade, and the side of Nebulae could have easily just abused the amount of damage that AURORA can put out. However, Nebulae did not do that, and D.Va as well did not respond in any sort, any form of aggression whatsoever, and D.Va just allowed Trophies to farm all the way up 265 CS, just 21 minutes in. There you have it, and that is when, you know, this is when it's just so difficult to take out Trophies. Trophies has got all the 4 core items, has got defenses, Halcyon boots as well.
Trophies is full build at this point, 21 minutes in, and it's not often that you see that indeed, even with perfect farming like Neon C on the other team. He's got 227 for 21 minutes, and that's still just over perfect farming, and they still haven't finished off that final item. They're close to it, but you can see the difference in power that Trophies with just able to push through these turrets so easily with Kraken, and Nebulae putting that faith in to Trophies, and Trophies meanwhile having to put the faith in that team to make sure they get to this point of the game where we now see Nebulae so very strong. But AURORA, you saw in the previous fight, can still be taken out fairly easily if they're not careful. So at the moment they're more like a second support for the side of Nebulae, but right now Nebulae didn't focus on that turret. It was more so Trophies just trying to keep away Majin. Trophies might get caught out now. Majin gonna dive in, but there's no follow-up there. Good death from above to zone out Nyon, and there's gonna be the follow-up with the Surge Strike into 4 Barrage, almost catching them out. And Trophy's gonna go deep. Trophy's getting very greedy here. They might be able to pick up a kill. It looks like AURORA going to be able to get the kill onto box, but Spitfire not able to chase down Trophies. The momentum and the movement right now. Oh, Trophy's sidestepping that on point, and then just playing so aggressively right now, going in again and again. They need to be careful of that mana consumption. They do have the clockwork, but right now Divine Aurora just, I don't know if they can actually deal with this, as thinking Trophy's being a bit greedy and maybe a bit too aggressive, but perhaps they understand the power spike that they're at. To be at this point 23 minutes into the game, I mean, Trophy's already 4-0 and they have that full build. The problem now is whether Nebulae can finish the game or not.
Well, I mean, looking very, very strong, although the goal difference do not quite show. The side of Nebulae only 2k in terms of gold lead as compared to the side of Divine Aurora, but all in all, Trophy's now just very, very strong, and even AURORA has got to another fountain, probably building it towards an Aegis, hopefully, if not, then a Crucible.
Yep, and we see Nebulae perhaps looking for another fight. Trophy's not even worrying about the minions at this point, just using them to get the target lock, get the Surge Strike off, and position themselves to use that for rush onto the enemy. But what I worry about is if Nebulae take too long in finishing this game out, that there's more than likely a chance for the side of Divine Aurora to make a comeback, just because of the fact that they'll be able to also build up on their items and get to an even kind of power level. But we'll have to see what goes down here. Angry You Die going in with Impale, it misses, but so does Spitfires on point. There's going to be the Giffian Wall into the turret, stun up Majin. Are they going to follow through on that? Not sure if they're in the right position to do so. They are definitely looking for a fight now. Nebulae being a lot more aggressive after winning a few team fights.
Yep. I mean, they could have just been aggressive since the start, and at this point in time, they can just go for the Kraken as well. Majin, though, using Crucible.
Ooh, that's very good for the side of Nebulae as they've managed out the Crucible on the side of Divine Aurora. Death from above going to slow down Majin, but are they going to follow through? Angry You Die doesn't find the Impale and is actually taking a lot of damage in return. They need to be careful, but wait for it, used by Neon Sea. They could still decide to go in. Trophy's full health at the moment, but Spitfire able to land that on point onto them. And it looks like they're going to follow through onto Angry You Die more than likely, but no. Manages to get out there, and here's the engagement coming out by the side of Divine Aurora. Fountain used instantly by Nebulae in reaction. There's Death from above, not going to hit Neon Sea, but it's going to keep Spitfire separated, and Divine Intervention going to be used on Spitfire to keep him alive, but Sky mounting him at this point. One more strike should be enough to finish him. Into the forward barrage from behind, and now, great use of the Death from above to separate Neon Sea if they're able to land onto them, and there is the forward barrage to take them out. Trophy's playing like a god at this point, and Majin just gonna dive in. They know they can't escape this one, trying to bait it out as long as they can. There's the double kill, the unofficial triple for Trophies, and they're gonna push through. Angry You Die did fall in that fight, but luckily Doubtfire didn't and was able to help out Trophies to stay alive as well. They have the aced up minions. They're not even gonna go for Kraken. There's 22 seconds until Spitfire's on the board, and I'm sure right now Trophies is more than confident they can take them out.
Yep, for Trophies, or rather for Angry You Die on the lance, just before he went down, he actually manages to just throw out the last fountain, the last breath of fountain for Trophies, just survive a little longer in that particular team fight. But Spitfire maybe have got an answer by the time, but the Crystal going down very, very low, and the first game will go over to Nebulae and of course Trophies.
Yes, Nebulae and Trophies. Well, it's a whole team effort there, and that is what I'd like to mention of, like, to play Sky that well, there is the whole skill asset to it, but then there's also needing to have a team that's going to synergize with you that well, a team that's going to support you that much,